Welcome to More Information YouTube channel. Today we are talking about in our first video about the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon is the world's biggest rainforest, larger than the next two largest rainforests in the Congo Basin and Indonesia combined. As of 2020, the Amazon has 526 million hectares of primary forest, which accounts for nearly 84% of the region's 629 million hectares of total tree cover. By comparison, the Congo Basin has around 168 million hectares of primary forest and 288 million hectares of tree cover, while the combined tropical areas of Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Malaysia, and Australia have 120 million hectares of primary forest and 216 million hectares of tree cover. At one time, Amazon River flowed westward, perhaps as part of a Proto-Congo river system from the interior of present-day Africa when the continents were joined as part of Gondwana. 15 million years ago, the Andes were formed by the collision of the South American plate with the Nazca plate. The rise of the Andes and the linkage of the Brazilian and Guiana bedrock shields blocked the river and caused the Amazon to become a vast inland sea. Gradually this inland sea became a massive swampy, freshwater lake, and the marine inhabitants adapted to life in fresh water. For example, over 20 species of stingray, most closely related to those found in the Pacific Ocean, can be found today in the fresh waters of the Amazon. About 10 million years ago, waters worked through the sandstone to the west and the Amazon began to flow eastward. At this time the Amazon rainforest was born. During the Ice Age, sea levels dropped and the Great Amazon Lake rapidly drained and became a river. 3 million years later, the ocean level receded enough to expose the Central American Isthmus and allow mass migration of mammal species between the Americas. The Ice Ages caused tropical rainforests around the world to retreat. Although debated, it is believed that much of the Amazon reverted to savanna and montane forest, see Ice Ages and glaciation. Savanna divided patches of rainforest into islands and separated existing species for periods long enough to allow genetic differentiation. A similar rainforest retreat took place in Africa. Delta core samples suggest that even the mighty Congo watershed was void of the rainforest at this time. When the Ice Ages ended, the forest was again joined and the species that were once one had diverged significantly enough to constitute designated as separate species, adding to the tremendous diversity of the region. About 6,000 years ago, sea levels rose about 130 meters, once again causing the river to be inundated like a long, giant freshwater lake. The extent of the Amazon depends on the definition. The Amazon River drains about 6.915 million square kilometers, 2.722 square miles, or roughly 40% of South America, but generally, areas outside the basin are included when people speak about the Amazon. The biogeographic Amazon ranges from 7.76 to 8.24 million sq.km, 3 to 3.2 million sq.mi, of which just over 80% is forested. For comparison, the land area of the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii, is 9,629,091 square kilometers, 3,717,811 square kilometers. Today the Amazon River is the most voluminous river on Earth, carrying more than 5 times the volume of the Congo or 12 times that of the Mississippi, draining an area nearly the size of the 48 contiguous United States. During the high water season, the river's mouth may be 300 miles wide and every day up to 18 billion cubic meters, 635 billion cubic feet, of water flow into the Atlantic. That discharge, equivalent to 209,000 cubic meters of water per second, 7.3 million cubic feet/sec, could fill over 7.2 million Olympic swimming pools per day or supply New York City's fresh water needs for 9 years. The force of the current from sheer water volume alone causes Amazon River water to continue flowing 125 miles out to sea before mixing with Atlantic salt water. Early sailors could drink fresh water out of the ocean before sighting the South American continent. The river current carries tons of suspended sediment all the way from the Andes and gives the river a characteristic muddy whitewater appearance. It is calculated that 106 million cubic feet of suspended sediment are swept into the ocean each day. The result from the silt deposited at the mouth of the Amazon is Mayaro Island, a river island about the size of Switzerland. The Amazon's influence on the movement of moisture extends beyond the water that flows down the Amazon River. The trees of the Amazon rainforest pump vast quantities of water vapor into the atmosphere every day via transpiration. While much of this water falls locally as rain, some of this moisture is carried by airflows across other parts of the continent, including the agricultural heartland of South America to the south. This movement has been likened to flying rivers. By one estimate, 70% of Brazil's gross national product comes from areas that receive rainfall generated by the Amazon rainforest. While the Amazon basin is home to the world's largest tropical rainforest, the region consists of myriad other ecosystems ranging from natural savanna to swamps. Even the rainforest itself is highly variable. Tree diversity and structure vary depending on soil type, history, drainage, elevation, and other factors. This is discussed at greater length in the Amazon Rainforest Ecology section. The Amazon has a long history of human settlement, but in recent decades the pace of change has accelerated due to an increase in human population, the introduction of mechanized agriculture, and the integration of the Amazon region into the global economy. Vast quantities of commodities produced in the Amazon, cattle, beef and leather, timber, soy, oil and gas, and minerals, to name a few, are exported today to China, Europe, the US, Russia, and other countries. This shift has had substantial impacts on Amazon. This transition from a remote backwater to a cog in the global economy has resulted in large-scale deforestation and forest degradation in the Amazon. More than 1.4 million hectares of forest have been cleared since the 1970s. An even larger area has been affected by selective logging and forest fires. Conversion for cattle grazing is the biggest single direct driver of deforestation. In Brazil, more than 60% of cleared land ends up American Samoa pasture, most of which has low productivity, supporting less than 1 head per hectare. Across much of the Amazon, the primary objective for cattle ranching is to establish land claims, rather than produce beef or leather. But market-oriented cattle production has nonetheless expanded rapidly during the past decade. Industrial agricultural production, especially soy farms, has also been an important driver of deforestation since the early 1990s. However, since 2006, the Brazil soy industry has had a moratorium on new forest clearing for soy. The moratorium was a direct result of a Greenpeace campaign. Mining, subsistence agriculture, dams, urban expansion, agricultural fires, and timber plantations also result in significant forest loss in the Amazon. Logging is the primary driver of forest disturbance, and studies have shown that logged-over forests, even when selectively harvested, have a much higher likelihood of eventual deforestation. Logging roads grant access to farmers and ranchers to previously inaccessible forest areas. Deforestation isn't the only reason the Amazon is changing. Global climate change is having major impacts on the Amazon rainforest. Higher temperatures in the tropical Atlantic reduce rainfall across large extents of the Amazon, causing drought and increasing the susceptibility of the rainforest to fire. Computer models suggest that if current rates of warming continue, much of the Amazon could transition from rainforest to savanna, especially in the southern parts of the region. Such a shift could have dramatic economic and ecological impacts, including affecting rainfall that currently feeds regions that generate 70% of South America's GDP and triggering enormous carbon emissions from forest die-off. These emissions could further worsen climate change. Protecting the Amazon rainforest. While the destruction of the Amazon rainforest is ongoing, the overall rate of deforestation rate in the region dropped between the mid-2000s and mid-2010s, mostly to the sharp decline in a forest clearing in Brazil. However, deforestation has been steadily rising in the region in more recent years. Brazil's decline in its deforestation rate between 2004 and 2012 was attributed to several factors, some of which it controls, some of which it doesn't. Between 2000 and 2010 Brazil established the world's largest network of protected areas, the majority of which are located in the Amazon region. In 2004, the government implemented a deforestation reduction program which included improved law enforcement, satellite monitoring, and the provision of financial incentives for respecting environmental laws. Independent public prosecutor offices played a particularly important role in pursuing illegal activities in the Brazilian Amazon. The private sector also got involved, especially after 2006 when major crushers established a moratorium on new deforestation for soy. That soy moratorium was followed by the cattle agreement, in which major slaughterhouses and beef processors committed to source cattle only from areas where environmental laws were being respected. However, these conservation initiatives started to break down in the Brazilian Amazon in the mid-2010s. Major cattle producers circumvented the rules through livestock laundering, while financial incentives for conserving forests failed to materialize at the expected scale needed to change landowners' behavior. The Temer and Bolsonaro administrations dismantled environmental regulations, reduced environmental law enforcement, stripped conservation areas and indigenous territories of protections, and encouraged a wide range of industries, mining, logging, agribusiness, to expand extraction and conversion in the Amazon. In 2019, deforestation in Brazil started accelerating rapidly. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on bell icon. And don't forget to like and leave a comment. Bye.